Welcome to the Labor Force. I'm Bongeni Mutwa. At the moment, of course, all around the world, millions of workers are losing their jobs because of the impact of the coronavirus on the economies which are currently on lockdown worldwide. South Africa is no different, of course, and one of the sectors that is currently experiencing a spike in retrenchments is the road freight industry. For the latest on what is going on in that industry and more, we are joined by the General Secretary of the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union, Mr. Jack Mazibuko. Mr. Mazibuko, thank you very much for joining us. What is the latest in the road freight industry at the moment? Are workers losing their jobs now?
No, thank you very much for the opportunity that you are giving to us as the organization. It is true that the COVID-19 has negatively affected the working class in South Africa. And also we need to take into account the fact that this challenge is a global challenge. But let's come here home to South Africa, particularly in the road freight sector. Yeah, the effect of COVID-19 are very severe. On daily basis, the bargaining council of the road freight does receive a notice from the employers who are indicating that due to the fact that they are unable to run the business, they are opting to retrench workers. Which is a sad news at the end of the day, but we are doing our level best to engage with those employers to see how best can we assist one another to overcome the challenges that they are confronted with.
How many Section 189 notices are you sitting with at the moment from this industry itself?
You know, the industry as a whole, we are having more than about 100,000 employees within the industry. If one can just speak under estimation, on daily basis, you will find that you get about 8 notices from different companies. And then when you look at each and every company, the total workforce that is employed, you will find that it's more than 50 or 100 or so. And then that is worrying to us because we are worried as to what will be the future of those employees.
In terms of the transport industry overall, we know that there is, at the moment, moves to retrench workers in the whole aviation, basically, SAA, ComAir, and of course, lately we've had PRASA coming through as well, saying they need to reduce their workforce as well. These are all companies that unions like yourself operate in. Are you going to be left with any members, once COVID-19 is through, do you think?
It's a challenging question to answer, but we must say, looking at the challenges that the economy is confronted with, we must say that indeed the COVID-19 has affected the transport industry severely. Global aviation sector globally, it has collapsed. But however, let us specifically talk about the aviation sector. Even though we are confronted with some retrenchments, like in SAA, XA Express, and other entities within the aviation sector. But we have embarked on engagement with Department of Enterprise to try to come up with alternative ways of rebuilding a new airline, which we believe if we can get it right, even though there will be some retrenchment but it won't be that severe. It won't be that a huge number of the employees who might be affected. In the road freight sector, even we are engaging with the employer because we'll understand that the road freight sector has its own bargaining council that consists of the employer and organized union within the sector. We are also going to look at assess the deep challenge that the sector is confronted with, and after doing that, we'll be able to come up with mechanisms. And if need be, we'll also request an assistance or intervention from the government because we cannot afford workers to lose their job. I'm sure we all know that in South Africa, as we speak, we have a high number of unemployment. We have a high number of poverty. If all these companies are not being assisted, we are afraid that they will contribute severely to the poverty in the country.
Well, Mr. Mazibuko, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's the first time we have your union Satao on our show. There's more we could still talk about, of course, but as usual, time is not on our side. But my colleague Nzinga Kunda is going to be on just after this short break. Bye-bye from me. CCMA offices around the country are closed as part of the national lockdown, but that hasn't stopped the flow of complaints from flooding in electronically.
I've literally lost all work.
Workers in the public sector, workers in the private sector, in this period need to ensure that their rights are protected.
The main devastation here is going to be economic devastation. Yes, the health issues are key and we must save our people, but we have to save jobs. We have to save the dignity of our people.
Who's to blame for the virus and its rapid spread?
We have to find a way forward in Africa that can balance the risk of the virus.
We are currently preparing for what we call the surge or the peak in the number of new infections.
I'm confident about Africa. We should work together under the great leadership of the World Health Organization.
Let's keep fighting together to stop the pandemic, support most vulnerable and build a back better in solidarity.
Individuals will not be allowed to leave their homes except under strictly controlled circumstances. All shops and businesses will be closed except for pharmacies, laboratories, banks, essential financial payment services. The nationwide lockdown is necessary to fundamentally disrupt the chain of transmission across society. I call on all of us, one and all, to play our part and our role as South Africans.
The stories are going to be diverse. The lockdowns, the price of Brent crude oil. We need to bring Valen into the picture.